newscasts are sponsored by Akron Canton Airport, a better way to go.
Tonight on World News, breakthrough. Finally, a tentative deal in Washington on that gigantic $700 billion bailout. But will it actually rescue the financial system? Risky business, the executives who made millions while driving Wall Street firms into the ground. How did that happen, and can it be stopped from happening again? After some public stumbles by Sarah Palin, some conservatives are having second thoughts about her candidacy. Meanwhile, she's reigniting a debate among conservative Christians about gender roles. Would you be comfortable having her as your pastor? No. And Paul Newman, remembering a giant of Hollywood and of philanthropy. The outpouring today for an icon.
From ABC News headquarters in New York, this is World News.
Good evening, I'm Dan Harris. After days of late-night bargaining sessions and even shouting matches on Capitol Hill and in the White House, a deal to rescue the American financial system has now been reached. But no one is cheering. This $700 billion bailout is very unpopular with many voters and many members of Congress, and it is not final until they, the members of Congress, vote on it. ABC's Rachel Martin has been following the action on Capitol Hill all weekend. Rachel, good evening to you.
Hi, Dan. Things have been moving very quickly here at Capitol Hill. Just a short time ago, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi came out, held a press conference. She was flanked by fellow leaders in the Democratic Congress, and she said what many people have been waiting many days to hear.
Working in a bipartisan way, we sent a message to Wall Street. The party is over. The era of golden parachutes for high-flying Wall Street operators is over. No longer will the U.S. taxpayer bail out the recklessness of Wall Street.
Election day is only weeks away, and many are facing pressure from constituents back home to vote against the bill. What House Republicans knew about the bill, they didn't like.
I urge my colleagues not to be swayed by this siren song that we have no choice but this choice.
The compromise deal now includes the following: a cap on executive compensation for CEOs taking bailout money, the creation of a new bipartisan oversight commission to oversee how this money is spent, equity for taxpayers, meaning they'll be getting something for their money.
This is a good product, in my opinion. The downside of not doing this is potentially such a catastrophe for our nation that we don't even want to think about it.
But that's exactly what critics want: more time to think and debate and then vote.
And as you heard, there are many members of Congress that say this is simply too big an issue to rush through. They want more time to deliberate, more time to have long conversations about this issue. The House is expected to vote on the bill tomorrow. The Senate could hold a vote as early as tomorrow, but it could be Wednesday before we see that vote, Dan.
In the press conference that was held late today, it was only Democrats speaking, no Republicans. What does that say about the possibility of this bill, this huge bill, actually passing?
Well, I think it shows that there are still some very real divisions. Those House Republicans haven't been on board with this since the beginning. There are philosophical, ideological concerns with any kind of government bailout, and there are political pressures from constituents at home who say they don't support the bill. And with the election just a few short weeks away, that pressure is mounting. So it's still very unclear whether the Democratic-led Congress has the votes they need to make this a true bipartisan deal.
This is happening in a very charged atmosphere. Rachel Martin on Capitol Hill, thank you. You often hear Wall Street professionals telling regular investors that no stock is a sure thing. You could say the same thing about this bailout. Nothing of this size has ever been attempted before, and there are real questions about whether it's going to work. Betsy Stark is here tonight with more on that. Betsy, good evening.
Good evening, Dan. It is the $700 billion question. Will this monumental commitment of taxpayer dollars work? There is no science to solving a financial crisis of these dimensions. Policymakers are in uncharted territory. But there is consensus on one point. Without a deal, the outcome would be far worse.
Good morning.
The President, the Treasury Secretary, the Chairman of the Federal Reserve, and countless experts all made it clear that something had to be done to keep Wall Street and Main Street from falling into the economic abyss.
We've got to get some kind of a program in place that will restore some health to the banking system, because it's so essential. And if we don't, then we're going to see the U.S. economy virtually collapse.
But is this program the right program? Leading Republicans and Democrats appearing on ABC News today had serious questions about how the plan will work.
The question is what conditions are applied, and I think that people have got to pay very close attention to those conditions.
Who decides which mortgage to forbear and which mortgage not to forbear? Who decides what to buy and what not to buy? How do you set the price? This is a monstrosity.
The hugely complex task of arriving at a fair price for massive amounts of arcane financial securities that no one wants to buy is not the ordinary business of government bureaucrats.
They will need to hire a team of professional finance managers, absolutely.
But if the government manages the process well, many analysts think taxpayers could get their money back or more.
It's possible that this portfolio of investments that the government's going to be taking on could increase in value and the government could actually make money in the end of the day.
But even if today's plan is successful in jump-starting the nation's frozen credit markets, which is the immediate goal, it is no magic bullet for the laundry list of problems weighing the economy down, from falling home prices to high food and gas prices to rising unemployment. So while the stock market may avoid tanking on news of a deal, investors may still be in no mood to celebrate.
Investors most definitely are going to be cautious. This is not a done deal. But the biggest rally will be when both houses of Congress have approved it, both the Senate and the House.
Even if this plan works, the nation still faces hard economic times. More banks are likely to fail. More Americans may lose their homes and jobs. But the measure of success here is not, can it solve all problems? More like, can it stabilize a terribly dangerous situation? And many experts are fairly optimistic about that, Dan.
That is good to hear. Betsy, thank you. Barack Obama and John McCain are gingerly embracing this deal. McCain called it, quote, something that all of us will swallow hard and go forward with. We have two reports from the campaign trail tonight. We're going to start with ABC's Ron Claiborne.
As Congress hammered out the final details, the McCain campaign allowed cameras to capture him working the phones. But it appears John McCain was at best a minor player.
How helpful do you believe in the process?
I will let you and others be the judge of that. I did the best that I could.
The past few days have been rough for John McCain. First, he suspended his campaign and returned to Washington to get involved in the bailout talks, a move Democrats and even some Republicans derided as grandstanding.
It's been your president.
More voters thought Obama won the first debate, according to several polls. And Sarah Palin has been skewered for her performance in an interview with CBS's Katie Couric.
I'll try to find you some and I'll bring them to you.
She was the target of a biting satire on Saturday Night Live.
How specifically would you spread democracy abroad?
Specifically, we would make every effort possible to spread democracy abroad to those who want it.
There will now be heavy pressure on Palin in this week's vice presidential debate.
There's going to continue to be a little bit of a murmur that maybe this was the wrong pick, that maybe she doesn't have the national exposure that's needed to really get through a national campaign.
Even among some conservatives?
Even among some conservatives.
But with the bailout plan comes opportunity, McCain hopes. If it calms financial markets, it could allow him to refocus the political debate from the economy to where he wants it. Who's better prepared to be commander-in-chief? Ron Claiborne, ABC News, Washington.
This is John Berman following Barack Obama, who is using the economic crisis as a hammer to pound away at John McCain any chance he gets. Today it was Detroit.
His first response to the greatest financial meltdown in generations was a Katrina-like response. Sort of stood there, said the fundamentals of the economy are strong.
Yesterday it was North Carolina.
You see, I think Senator McCain just doesn't get it.
And Virginia.
You see, I think Senator McCain just doesn't get it.
The struggles on Wall Street have been an opportunity for Obama, with Americans saying they trust him rather than John McCain to handle the economy by a 14-point margin. This morning, he even tried to take credit for the compromise worked out in Washington.
When it comes to protecting taxpayers, I was pushing very hard and involved in shaping those provisions.
One sign of just how much Barack Obama likes this political environment, while John McCain has been off the campaign trail in Washington, this is the third rally Obama has held this weekend alone, including one last night in the rain. Rain or shine, the campaign says it will keep up this line of attack until Election Day. John Berman, ABC News, Detroit.
Other news now, Hurricane Kyle is brushing the coast of Maine with rain and very large waves. Kyle prompted the first hurricane watch in Maine in 17 years. But the storm weakened today as it moved over the cold waters of the North Atlantic. Canada is going to get hit hardest by this storm. Overseas, gunmen on a motorbike assassinated one of the highest-ranking police women in Afghanistan. The Taliban, which has been targeting schools and businesses run by women, claimed responsibility. Afghanistan's president condemned the assassination. And high drama off the eastern coast of Africa tonight, where a U.S. warship is shadowing a Ukrainian freighter seized by Somali pirates, demanding a $20 million ransom. There is special concern about this hijacking because